All right, Jeff, what brings us back to New Haven, Connecticut? More New Haven pizza, I hope?
Well, I'm definitely down for more pizza while we're in town, but first, we're looking for a book.
A book? Couldn't we have just stayed home and hit a local library or Amazon or something like that?
No, there's only one copy of this 600-year-old book.
Wow.
And its home is the Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library here at Yale University.
All right, what's this book about?
Well, here's the thing. No one knows for sure, Ray. We're not even sure what language it's written in or if it's a real language at all. We're here to see the Voynich Manuscript. I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to episode 69 of the New England Legends podcast.
And I'm Ray Auger. If you give us about 10 minutes, we'll give you something strange to talk about today.
We're glad to have you along on our mission to chronicle every legend in New England, one story and 1 week at a time.
All right, got a lead for us? Your own story to share?
I do.
Call, or you do?
Wait,
well, then you can call or text our legend line anytime at 617-444-9683. We love hearing from you.
We do.
You can also contact us through social media, join our super secret Facebook group, and email us through our website at ournewenglandlegends.com. All right, so Jeff, we're here in New Haven to see a book.
That's right.
All right. No one knows what it says or what it's about.
Exactly.
And it's located at Yale University.
Right.
I'm not sure we're smart enough to even visit an Ivy League school like Yale.
Good point. So let's try to look smart. Wicked smart.
All right. How do we do that?
Here. I brought glasses for both of us to wear.
Oh, good idea. All right.
Okay.
Act cool, man.
Yep, got it. Okay. All right. Take a look.
All right. Wow. It's clearly a very old book. Just looking through, there are tons of colored illustrations. I see many paragraphs of written words on these pages, but I don't recognize the language at all.
Neither do I.
But that's not saying much. Neither one of us are language experts, right?
That's very true. I mean, we can barely speak English.
But someone must know what this says.
You'd think so, but so far, no one can figure this one out. So let's set this up.
All right, back in 1912, a Polish antique dealer named Wilfred Voynich visited the Jesuit college at Frascati near Rome, Italy. The Jesuits presented him with a trunk full of old books to look through. Voynich checks out the books and sets a couple aside, intending to make an offer on them. Then he spots this strange manuscript. He doesn't recognize the language or drawings, but he can tell the book is very old. It's a curiosity, a mystery to solve. So he purchases the book along with a few other items and brings it home.
And once he's back at his antique shop, he shows the book around to a few scholars he knows looking for someone to translate it for him. The only problem is none of his usual experts recognize the language either. Everyone is puzzled.
And that only makes Voynich even more excited about his find.
Right. Not only is it very old, its contents are a mystery. I mean, could this be a lost language? Or maybe it's some kind of complicated code?
And while it may be written in some kind of code, if you look at the many pictures and diagrams, it seems to contain observations about plants, the human body, stars, things like that.
The book itself is broken into 6 sections. There's an herbal section, astronomical, biological, cosmological, pharmaceutical, and then some kind of recipes?
So maybe it's an ancient cookbook.
Maybe, or at least in part.
Now, does anybody know how old this book is for sure?
The first time the book appears in any kind of written record is the late 1500s AD. Rudolph II of Germany buys this book for 600 gold ducats because he believes it was written in the 13th century by Roger Bacon.
Love that name, by the way.
Yeah.
Roger Bacon. He was an English philosopher and a Franciscan friar who studied nature. Some considered him a wizard or sorcerer.
Right.
So if he wrote this book in a secret language, no doubt someone in the late 1500s would think this could be the key to unlocking the universe.
But even if this book contained all the secrets of the universe, from the winning lottery numbers to the cure for cancer, if you can't decipher the words or meaning, it's pretty much worthless.
That's true.
In more recent years, the book has been carbon dated to sometime between 1404 and 1438 AD, which means Roger Bacon could not have written it. It contains 246 pages, and though it seems clear there are several pages and foldouts missing, it's also possible the book's been rebound along the way. But still, no one has a clue as to who wrote it or what it says.
Now, the more questions that hang over the origins and content of this book, the more the legend grows. Scholars ask other scholars to look at it, and each one is puzzled. Decades go by.
So if we fast forward to the 1930s and 1940s, and now you have World War II boiling up, Because of the war, the world is moving into new realms of communications and secret keeping. Codes, secret transmissions, things like that. So there's this guy named William Friedman who runs the research division of the U.S. Army's Signal Intelligence Service. Friedman is a cryptographer, a codebreaker, who spends all his days poring over intercepted transmissions. Friedman and his team were able to break Japan's infamous purple cipher just before the U.S. entered World War II.
So what does a guy who breaks codes all day long for a living do in his free time?
He works on other codes and puzzles.
Right, of course.
I mean, I imagine Friedman is the kind of guy whose mind just never stops,
Yeah.
always working on something. And he hears about this document that's come to be known as the Voynich Manuscript. And Friedman wants a crack at it.
Well, here's the thing about codes. They must all have some logic to them. Any code ever created by a human has some kind of algorithm to it, so someone else can decipher it. That's how codes work.
Right. Something has to correspond to something else.
Yeah.
So a symbol or a number has to equal a letter so the recipient can translate. And as we've seen, if we follow the news, even the most complicated algorithms can be cracked. Banks and giant retailers have their financial information stolen all the time, and they have supercomputers to process and protect their algorithms.
Back in the 1940s, when Friedman was trying to crack the Voynich manuscript code, he didn't have the aid of computers.
Right, but whoever wrote this book didn't have the aid of computers either.
True.
So Friedman must have figured with his modern-day code-breaking abilities, this old Voynich manuscript doesn't stand a chance.
All right, so what happened?
Well, Friedman worked and ciphered and puzzled, but he got nowhere. And eventually, he gave up.
So language scholars can't figure this thing out.
Right.
And one of the world's best code breakers can't decipher it either. That's kind of amazing.
Which brings us back to this thing being written in some kind of language.
As I stare at the writing, I can see plenty of characters that are identical to each other. To me, this clearly looks like a normal written language of some kind.
Right.
The swooping letters and so on form paragraphs and fill these pages.
And just like a code or cipher, written language also has to have rules and logic to it. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Right.
But unlike a cipher, language is supposed to be easily understood. There appears to be between 25 and 30 different characters or letters that make up all of this text.
It baffles me that there could be a language from 600 years ago where there's only a single piece of text left of it. I mean, how is that possible?
Other experts ask the same question, Ray, which turned the book's origin theories to a much stranger place.
All right, what do you mean by that?
Well, considering the text matches no language anyone knows, and the world's best code breakers can't figure it out, maybe that means this text is the ravings of a lunatic. I mean, a mad person who wrote down gibberish, consistent gibberish, and gibberish that they went through a great deal of trouble and expense to compose, but still gibberish.
Or
It's some kind of alien artifact from another world, another dimension. When you can't find answers, your imagination is free to roam.
okay, but I don't buy the alien world idea.
Okay.
Unless there's humans on that alien world, because some of the illustrations show naked human women bathing in green liquid.
Right.
Plus, there are other illustrations of humans in the book, and some plants that also look very Earth-like.
I agree, Ray. This book seems to have originated here on Earth. After Voynich died in 1930, the book passes into various hands until 1961, when it made it into the possession of Austrian book dealer Hans P. Krauss. Krauss purchased the Voynich manuscript for $24,500. And for years, he tried to sell it, but he couldn't fetch the price he wanted. So in 1969, he donates the book to the Beinecke Library here at Yale University in New Haven, and it's been puzzling scholars in their rare book collection ever since.
All right, I'm dumbfounded that with today's technology, no one has been able to crack this code or translate this language.
And the longer the code goes unbroken, the larger the legend. Some even accuse Voynich of being the author of an elaborate hoax in order to raise his profile as an international antiques dealer.
But that doesn't hold water because of the carbon dating and the written record from centuries before Voynich was alive.
Exactly.
Do you think that we'll ever know what it says, Jeff?
Well, here's the thing. After over a century of attempts, 2 Canadian codebreakers may have made the first big break in this enigma. And it happened earlier this year.
Ooh, what happened?
Well, computer scientists from the University of Alberta developed a computer program to help them convert the characters in the Voynich manuscript. They believed maybe the text was some kind of vowelless alphagram.
No vowels? Come on.
They suspect in this alphagram, there's a code where the letters in a word are written alphabetically. For example, Ray would be A-R-Y, but, without vowels.
All right, it's weird to go through all this trouble for a book like this, only to write it in code. It makes me think that maybe there's some huge secrets in the text, or at least the author believed the information to be a secret worth all the trouble.
So they used their software to decipher 380 different language versions cataloged at the United Nations. They had a 97% success rate matching these anagrams to modern words. So they fed the first 10 pages of the Voynich Manuscript into their software and got an 80% match to a specific language.
Ooh, which language?
Hebrew. Wow. But some ancient form of the language.
Okay.
The Canadian researchers show the text to a scholar who's a native Hebrew speaker, but he couldn't translate the words. It was either a dialect or version of the language just too old to understand. So they seemed stuck. But then they caught another break. They published their findings in the journal Transactions of the Association of Computational Linguistics.
Oh, I never missed one of those issues.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay. So these guys figured today we have more data, more manuscripts digitized than ever before, and we have artificial intelligence that's literally learning as it scans more documents and manuscripts. The AI is learning the difference in handwriting styles. It can spot variations in language as it evolves over time and so on.
All right, so these eggheads from Alberta must have built some monster computer machine that just crunched on the Voynich Manuscript all day, right?
Well, no. Once they had the language, Hebrew, but couldn't find a scholar who could translate it, they used something a little more off the shelf.
Like what?
Are you ready for this?
I am.
They used Google Translate.
Wait. The same Google Translate that I can go use on my phone right now?
Yeah, that one.
Hey, Google, so what does the Voynich Manuscript mean?
The Voynich Manuscript is an illustrated codex handwritten in an unknown writing system.
Okay, so not quite that straightforward, but they did use the Google Translate algorithm to compare the text from the Voynich Manuscript to all versions of Hebrew, and they got a match. Here's the first line of the text of the Voynich Manuscript.
She made recommendations to the priest man of the house and me and people.
Okay, so that's sort of coherent. Did they translate other parts of the book too?
They did. 172-word section from the herbal part of the book had words like farmer, light, air, and fire, but not necessarily like cohesive sentences.
All right, so I think what you're saying is we're not sold that they have the right translation.
Right. It's just a start. Tiny pieces.
Pieces that may or may not be right.
Exactly.
Which only adds to the legend of the book called the Voynich Manuscript, which sits quietly in a vast library on the Yale campus in New Haven today. Now, wouldn't it suck if they go through all this trouble and it turns out it's just some advertising circular from some medieval mega mall?
Okay, that would suck. Nothing makes our imagination flow like an unanswered question. And when it comes to the Voynich Manuscript, there are plenty.
Now, if you'd like to read through the Voynich Manuscript, or try to read through the Voynich Manuscript, just go to our website at OurNewEnglandLegends.com and click on episode 69. We have a link to where you can see every page online.
Would like to thank Google Assistant for lending her voice acting talents
Thank
this
you.
week. And our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember, the bizarre is closer than you think.